today there is a small section, a small part. Do you, I believe that you remember uh, population proportion. Okay, population proportion we denote by simple p. Okay, so population proportion is number of successes divided by number of observations in the population. Okay, so which means simple p equals x, number of successes we can denote by simple x, so x over n. Okay, so same as in the same fashion we can define sample proportion. Okay, sample proportion which denote by p hat. So p hat is equals to number of successes divided by sample size. Okay, so same as the previous one, simple x over n. Okay, it doesn't matter what we use, what are the variables we are using, same idea. Okay, so sample proportion which is p hat. Okay, if sample distribution is approximately normal, I mean if our population is uh, normal, let's say we don't know what about our population, but we know we have large enough sample, which means simply as I mentioned last day, our sample size is going to be like greater than 40, something like that. Okay, so large n, that's why we mention large n. So if we have large enough sample, then we can approximate our sample. It is normally approximately normal distributed. Okay, so mean is the true proportion. Okay, mean, population mean mu is the true proportion, which we call the population proportion. Okay, population proportion. That's why we denote by simple p. Okay, population proportion equals the mean. Then standard deviation, which mean standard deviation with respect to sample proportion. Okay, p hat with respect to p hat, we can denote like this. We can find it using sorry, using this equation. Here p hat mean what? Sample proportion. Okay, sample proportion. Clear? Okay, so S mean standard deviation, sample standard deviation of p hat. Okay, okay. For a moment, forget about this. Start from here. If we need to find the confidence interval for who? For P. Okay. If we need to find the confidence interval for P, you confidence interval for P, confidence level 100, 1 minus alpha percent. Okay. Any confidence interval, I mean general confidence interval, that we can find using this equation. Okay, that we can find using this equation. What is p hat? It is sample proportion. This is sample proportion. This is sample proportion, p hat. Okay, what is p tilde? P tilde mean this one. See what they have considered here. Let p tilde equals p hat plus c alpha over 2 squared over 2n, 2 times n, divided by 1 plus 2 alpha over 2 squared over n. Clear? So simply you can replace p tilde using this, and once you simplify this, you can get the confidence interval for p. Okay, so this is a general case. I mean, this is a general equation. You can we can use this for any n. Okay, any n, any n. Most of the time, since you know what is going on if n is large enough. Okay, so if n is less than 40, we can use this. Okay, What happens if n is greater than 40? So that we don't need to worry about this much huge equation, we can simplify it a little bit. Okay, what we can do is, let me erase this. If we have large enough sample, okay, which means greater than 40, or let's say, yeah, greater than 40, what we can do is simply uh, increase this n, right? So what happens if we increase this n? Let me rewrite it. P hat c squared alpha over 2 times n divided by 1 plus c alpha over 2 divide by simple n. Okay, once we increase n, what will happen to this p tilde? 2 times n goes up, I mean n increases. What will happen to this small fraction? This closes to 0, right? This closes to 0. Something over huge number is very closest to 0, not 0, but closest to 0. Same happen here. For the denominator piece, this part, this fraction, it closes to 0. So what happened? P tilde equals to P hat. Here. So same thing you can apply here. Once n increases, this piece closes to 0, as well as this piece closest to 0. Okay, so that you can rewrite this P tilde plus or minus z alpha over 2 square root of what? Square root of P hat 1 minus P hat
Excuse me, sir.
over n, right? Over n. Yeah, this piece very close to, or this fraction very close to 0. So this one equals 0. Okay. Again, this, what happened to this P tilde? From here, it equals to P hat. So you can again replace P tilde from P hat. C alpha over 2 square root of P hat 1 minus P hat over n. Clear? Why we do this? If we have large enough n, which means simply n greater than 40, something like that. Okay. Okay. So this is Ci for P. Ci for P. P means population proportion. Okay. So this interval gives us Ci for confidence interval for P, population proportion. So once we have large enough sample, we can approximate, okay, this from our original equation. P hat plus or minus C alpha square root of P hat 1 minus P over n. Okay. Again, you have to check this as well. Do you remember when we talk about normal distribution? I told you two conditions, right? If it is if a sample satisfies these two conditions, we can approximate it to a normal distributed. Okay, which means normal distributed. So what are those two assumptions? N times P hat, here P hat, because we are talking with P hat. Okay, sample proportion. So n times sample proportion greater than 10 and n times 1 minus P hat greater than 10. Okay, those are not exactly what I told you in the normal distribution part. This is separate one. Okay, this is separate one because we are talking about population proportion and sample proportion. Okay, but if you check these two values for large n, for large n, which means greater than n greater than 40, you will see that this is true. Okay, this is also true. Clear? So by considering everything, this one and this, when n, what happened when n increases, we can get this. Whatever inside this box, we can get this equation. To calculate the confidence interval for population proportion. Okay. In the question, if I give you like n is 20 or 25, something like that, you have to stick with these two. Okay. You have to first find p tilde and then plug p tilde to this equation and find the confidence interval. Okay. Otherwise, which means if you have n equals 40 or greater than 40, easily you can use this. Okay. That's how it works. I think, yes, this here you can see we have in this example we have 18 out of 40 selected customers are willing to pay this much. Okay, we need to construct into 95 confidence interval for the proportion. So this is what? This is not the population proportion. This is about p hat, sample proportion. You can calculate easily what is the sample proportion value. 18 out of 40. It is this much. Now check what is n. Here n is 40. So as I mentioned, if n is 40 or greater than 40, you can approximate to normally distributed. Approximate to a normal distribution. Okay, your sample you can approximate to a normal distribution, and then you can use this what we derived in the last slide. Clear? Then simply plug those values and get the corresponding interval. Interval is here. This is the value for this piece. Once you plug this piece to p hat, you can get the corresponding interval for what? For this proportion, this population proportion. Okay, this is the CI. Let's say this is the 95% CI confidence interval for what? P, population proportion. Clear? Okay. It is easy if you have a large enough sample. Otherwise, you have to deal with this guy. Okay. It doesn't matter what happened, but you have to do more work if you have if you don't have a large enough sample. Okay. But same way you have to deal with either you have a large enough sample or not. So we actually this is what we do. As the same last time we did, we found confidence interval for mu. Okay, mu, which is population mean, by using sample mean. Same here, we use population proportion, okay, using sample proportion, something like that. Okay, clear? Okay. If we have large sample, now we are considering simply large sample confidence bound. Okay, to get the confidence bound for what? Mu. Okay, here we are not talking about interval. Okay, we don't consider interval in this part. I mean this section. Just confidence bounds. What is confidence bound mean? It can be a upper bound or lower bound, not both. Okay, I mean there is no interval here, no interval. Okay, there is no interval here considering upper bound or lower bound. It is easy. Upper bound mean if you have an interval like this, upper bound mean this guy here. Okay, maximum value, and the lowest value we call to lower bound. Okay, We call that not just lower bound and upper bound, we call it upper confidence bound because we are considering confidence bound because we have confidence level. Confidence, again, we have confidence level alpha, whatever value, okay, percentage. Okay, these are, we call one tail cases because if we need to find the sorry, let me erase this. If we need to find an interval, we consider something like this, right? Whatever inside this, and this is going to be alpha over 2, this is going to be alpha over 2, right, as I mentioned last time. But now we need only one, okay, so that there is no alpha over 2. This case, it is just one tail. We are considering only one tail like this. So we don't need to divide alpha by 2. Okay, just simply you can use alpha. Remember that if you need to find the confidence bound, it can be upper confidence bound or lower confidence bound, you have to use alpha, not alpha over 2. See? Same way, it doesn't change. So you can find the upper bound, let's say first one, upper bound for mu. You can simply use it, mu. If it is upper bound, definitely mu, oh, sorry. If it is mu, upper bound mean mu less than something. Lower bound mean definitely mu greater than something, right? This is like the interval what we discussed last time, but now we need these two pieces separately. Okay, so upper bound mu less than x bar plus z alpha times s over square root of n. If you need the upper bound, please don't do this. Please don't first find the confidence interval and get this value is the upper bound. No. Why? Because here you have to use alpha, C alpha. To find the confidence interval, you have to find C alpha over 2. Okay, there's a difference. I mean, there is a small difference, so value can be changed. Okay, the other side, lower bound, lower confidence bound, you can find mu greater than negative value. Mu greater than x bar minus C alpha over S over square root of n. Okay, we call this one-sided confidence interval. Okay, you can use that interval term by using one-sided confidence interval, not just confidence intervals. Okay, this term should this word comes with confidence interval, one-sided. Okay, so you can use this as what we have done last time. It doesn't matter, it doesn't change. Simply you can use these equations. Okay, but be careful what they ask. What question asks? Confidence interval or one-sided confidence interval. In other words, confidence bound. Okay, so you have to be careful with that because you have to deal with this alpha. Okay, let's move to the next one. What happens if we have a normal distribution? How we use our normal our interval to if we have a normal distribution? Please check this one. We have 100 soda cans, population with volume being normal distributed. Okay, population normal distributed. What happens if population is normal distributed? You know that if population is normally distributed, okay, then you can simply consider, your sample is normally distributed without any problem, right? Okay, so they have given S, they haven't mentioned sigma. Okay, they have mentioned sample standard deviation and the sample mean. How we deal with this? You know how to deal with this in section 7.2. Okay, x bar plus or minus C alpha, you know that, right? S over square root of n, right? So what happened this case? What happened? Our sample only contain 10 soda cans. Again, this is not sample or population proportion, what we have done in last few minutes. Okay, just forget about population proportion right now. Now just deal with the samples or and populations. Okay, so this case, I mean, if we have large enough sample, we approximate we have our sample is normal distributed, although we don't know about the population. Okay, or like this, they have given we have this much sample, this much sample and population is normal distributed, so that no worries, simply you can consider sample is normal distributed. So those two cases we have done. Okay, now what happened? Our sample is very small, like here 10. So to deal with this, we have another approach. Okay, similar approach but using different methods. Okay, so again, consider the assumptions what we made. Data set is random sampling. I mean data set selected from a random simple random sampling. So observations from the population. Okay, population normally distributed with unknown mean mu and unknown standard deviation sigma. We don't know mean and sigma. Okay, population is normal distributed. Oh, there is another case. What happened if we don't know what is the population, but we know that population is symmetric and single peak? Actually, you don't have to learn those stuff. What happened if population is not symmetric or it has more than one peak? We have different techniques to do that. It is a little bit complicated, but right now, don't worry about these two. Whatever you have been asked, the questions based on that limit, they simply you can assume we have symmetric and single peak distribution. Okay, so you don't have to worry about this. Again, sorry, if we have symmetric and single peak distribution, single peak mean peak only just one peak. Okay, with sorry, unknown mean and again unknown standard deviation. Okay, so we have to use approximation. Clear? So let me check. Clear? So what happened if our population is normal distributed? Then we can assume sample is normal distributed. Unknown mean doesn't matter. We use x bar, right? Sample mean. And if we don't know the standard deviation, what we use S. So doesn't matter with this case, right? But matter is here. What happens if we don't know both of them? And there are few things, right? We don't know the population distribution. Okay, and n is small. See, and we don't know unknown sigma and mu. See, we have to deal with these. You cannot approximate to a normal distribution. N is because n is small and unknown mu sigma. So what we have to do? Under those assumptions, what we have done in the last time, we can deal like this. Okay, this is what we have done. But right now, we don't have a normal distribution. So that this is the way out, this one. We use a distribution called T distribution. Or we call it sometimes student's T distribution. Okay, both words we use for that. Just T distribution or students T distribution. This name came from like it has a meaning. Okay, why you use students distribution, because it came from like both professor and his students. They work with this distribution. That's why is in the first place they have mentioned it T distribution, but after a few years later his students work with this distribution. That's why we use it students T distribution. So doesn't matter with the name, either T distribution or students T distribution. Okay, but if we need to use T distribution, we should know just one parameter which call degrees of freedom. Simply we call DF. Degrees of freedom equals to n minus 1. Okay, always degree of freedom is n minus 1. Okay, okay, I'll show you the T distribution in next slide. Okay, you should know about this students T distribution. T distribution belongs to a T distribution family. Okay, it has some similar properties like normal distribution. It is symmetric, bell shaped, same as normal distribution. It is like this. Okay, and not the next slide. After next slide I can show you, I can compare those student T distribution and normal distribution. Okay, T distribution has much smaller peak than the normal distribution. Okay, so anyway, uh, greater area in the tails than normal distribution. Okay, if you consider, okay, your normal distribution is like this, your T distribution it's like this. So once you consider this tails, this part and this right hand side, you can see this area is much greater than this area, because in the normal distribution it goes like this, but here it's like this. Okay, so you will see that we have greater tail area than normal distribution. Okay, there is a strong relation between T distribution and normal distribution. Once we increase our n, we can approximate to a normal distribution. Okay, when we increase the n, what happens if we increases the n? Degree of freedom increases, right? Because degree of freedom is n minus 1. So once we increase the n, degree of freedom goes up. So degree of freedom goes up like 40. Easily you can approximate it to a normal distribution. Okay, if we increase n, then we can approximate to a we increase mean n greater than 40. We can say okay, it is normally distributed. We can approximate. Okay, but we cannot come back like if n is 10, it's not normal distributed anymore. Okay, there is no way like that. Okay, so see, approaches to the normal distribution if degree of freedom increases, which means simply n increases. Okay, so let's see, if n is not large enough, okay, which means less than 40, how we deal with this T distribution. So T sub V. T mean simple T denoted by the T distribution or T value, like C value, same as here, T value. V mean degree of freedom. That's the general term we use to define degree of freedom, simple V. Okay, so for an example, T 0.0, T 5. Okay, if it is T5, which means T distribution with degree of freedom 5. So what is the n? N is 6, right? Clear? n equals to degree of freedom plus 1. Okay, so let's see what is this. Okay. Okay, here we have standard normal distribution, t distribution. See, if you consider like scale, as you can see here, this area is greater than this small area. That's what they have mentioned here. Okay. Okay. The different t values. Okay, this is the t table critical value of t values, because we are using alpha, that's why we call it critical values. So same as how you deal with normal distribution, or sorry, standard normal distribution, C table. But here there is a big difference. Once you check this table body, which means whatever inside this, you can see these values. See, they are large values. They are not probability values. Okay, they are t values, not probability values. These are not probability value. Okay, you can see that. See, there are value like 600, something like that. So where is the probability values? Probability values are these values, alpha, first column, first row. I mean these values. See, these values, alpha values are the only probability values in this table. What is this V? Which means degree of freedom. Okay, once you know the degree of freedom and alpha, simply you can find the corresponding value. For an example, let's say alpha equals 0.1 and I need to find T5. T5 means degree of freedom is 5. So this is this is 5. Okay, just consider this V, degree of freedom. Okay, so 5 is here. Where is 0.1? 0.1 you can find from here. 0.1 is here. So value is 1.476. Okay, but it is not a probability value. It is a t value. Okay, so I don't know whether you can see it or not, but they have mentioned it here. See, t alpha. If you need to find a if you need to find a t value, you need alpha and v, degree of freedom. Okay, you can denote it like this, doesn't matter. Okay, so v is the degree of freedom. You need that value to find the corresponding t value. Okay, these are t values. Okay, okay, how if I'll just stop from, I'll just do this and stop. Consider one sample t test. T confidence interval. Here, one sample, which for a moment, just forget about it. We have one sample test, two sample test, something like that. That's why first one is one sample test. Oh, what happened? Why this bar came here? Okay, anyway. So confidence interval. Okay, confidence interval. N less than 40. Sigma unknown. So whatever sigma unknown, simply you can use S. N40, this is very similar to what we have derived last time. X bar plus or minus. Right now you don't have Z value, you have T value. T alpha over 2. Why alpha over 2? Because confidence interval. We are dealing with confidence interval. This is the alpha value and this is the degree of freedom. Simple V, n minus 1. If you have a value something like this, T alpha over 2 comma degree of freedom V, you can find that value, right? So it is easy. See, this value is the critical value. We call it critical value because we are dealing with alpha. Mean, sample standard deviation, sample size. Clear? So same as how we deal with the normal distribution case. If you need to find the confidence interval, doesn't matter. Only thing is you have to replace C by T. Okay, but when you consider T, you have another variable called degree of freedom.